Hey guys, what's going on? It's Filmington. In the last video, I talked about wax prices and some justifications for why they're super high at release. In this video, we're going to be talking about post-release wax. So stuff that isn't new, stuff that's been out there for at least 3 months, could be 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, could be 5 years. And why I believe almost all of it is a bad investment. So what you see behind me, the stuff that I was not talking about for the most part in the last video, that was more about release date wax and people that are, for the most part, buying it to open it. I'm clearly not doing that. Why is it a bad investment? Well, all of the factors that are contributing to sealed wax being very expensive at release, whether it be producer inflation or the cost of inputs, whether it be service inflation, whether it be group breaking, whether it be some tactics employed by fanatics to create more buzz around products, and marketing gimmicks. We can talk about that a little bit. Marketing gimmicks kind of fall in a few different categories. Some are with expiration dates. So the MVP buyback, you've got a period of, I don't know, it's going to be like probably 8 months or so. When the season starts the next year, the benefit goes away, right? The benefit of getting, and this is a pretty significant benefit, this is base cards that you can easily pull. They might not average one per hobby box of the MVPs, but $30 or $20, $20 per base card, and then refractors, everything on top of that, it goes up incrementally. And that's a pretty significant benefit, guys, and that goes away. On top of that, there are also bounties. Some of these have known expiration dates. It's like when it gets pulled. Some of them probably have fixed expiration dates. I don't know the ins and outs, the intricacies of all the different bounties, but the fact is that it's a temporary, for the most part, benefit, right? You've also got things like Taco Fractor, where okay, yeah, it might not ever expire, but you kind of know where that value is going to be concentrated with regards to first stolen base in the World Series, right? So it's literally just this guy's card, and he's got 5 copies, and only a few of those haven't been pulled yet at this point, I believe. So, and then you've also got redemptions. They used to have these expire within 3 years, but now they're all 2 years post-release. In some case, it ends up being like 22 months, 21 months, 23 months. It all kind of depends on when the product actually hits the market, which often is later than they originally anticipated. So, for instance, I had a customer of mine that pulled one of the top hits out of 21 Bowman Chrome Hobby, and it was a Jordan Walker number 250 prime time autograph, and that had expired when he pulled it by about 3.5 months. And he contacted Topps, no dice. They're offering him like a $15 or $20 care package instead. And I think in the past you used to be able to, well, it's still within 3 years, so it just expired within the last 6 or 12 months. But from my experiences, usually you're not able to get that card once it's past that stated window, which is unfortunate. So that's another benefit that goes away, right? So you've got all these factors that are juicing up wax at release. The cost of gambling, the cost of entertainment is going to be higher than a market where it's truly determined based on supply, demand, finite amount of income, and the characteristics of all those buyers included. So the fact that the singles environment is getting absolutely smashed right now, it's really no different than modern wax getting smashed, because predominantly people that are buying and collecting these things are going to be collectors. They're going to be speculators. They're not going to be people that are opening the wax. Yeah, sure, you might buy something 6 months after release, 12 months, 24 months after release, but the proportion of those buyers that are buying it to open it starts to shrink more and more over time, as it should. Because as the singles market collapses for every product, as that singles demand and hype wanes and fades after the release, there's less incentive to open it, right? Because you're not going to get as much value out of the box if you were to open it 6 months down the line, 12 months down the line, when there's more and more of those singles out there in the marketplace, right? So you've got that working against you as well. You've got the hype working against you. You've got supply working against you, where there's just more of these cards out there, all competing against one another. And you've got all of these other products, which is part of the issue too, from that year, from previous years. So in the last video, we didn't talk about supply much at all, actually. But what Fanatics is realizing is that they can, and we've seen this with Topps Cosmic Chrome, we've seen this with a few other products, certainly. I think Cosmic Chrome stands out to me as one of the best examples. They can print more of this product and still keep the price somewhat similar at release versus the previous year. Now, it might not catch up on them with regards to that initial release. Maybe they're actually able to sell through all of their product. But what it hurts is people like me that have all this stuff, and you've got more Cosmic out there, than the year before, and you've got more of all of the other products. They didn't 3x all the other print runs from 2022 to 2023, but maybe they went up 20% on average. For some products, it was probably close to no increase. For some products like Topps Chrome Update Sapphire, they actually reduced the print run. I think being very cognizant of the environment that we're in, that they can't continue to crank up more and more products. They also actually slash and cut some products from the release schedule. And they added some products as well, but I think the net change was certainly a reduction overall in the total sets they created. So you've got less demand for singles. You've got less demand for people that want to invest in wax. And you've got relatively, plus or minus 5-10% versus the year before, close to the same amount of total wax that was probably produced from Topps/Fanatics. Now, they're going to be more concerned with the primary market, right? The breakers, the people opening this stuff, less so than the singles market. They might just chalk that up to, well, it's a bear market. Collectibles aren't in style right now, and it's just something we're going to have to work through. And it's not really our concern, right? We don't get paid based on those secondary market transactions. The fact that a Interstellar J-Rod falls 40-50% versus the year before, and the fact that not all of that, and in fact most of that decline, doesn't have to do with his performance, they're not really concerned with that, right? They're not really concerned with that. They just want to sell that Topps Cosmic for $300, $350 at release, right? So this is a situation where, because prices start off so damn high at release, and there's all these factors working against the secondary market, and a lot of temporary buzz that's built in to support those higher prices at release. Look at Topps Chrome Sapphire, right? So 2022 Topps Chrome Sapphire, which was printed probably about the same as 2023 Topps Chrome Sapphire. I don't know that off the top of my head, but I assume it was relatively similar. 22 right now, sealed, is going for $150. A case went yesterday, 10-box case went for about $135 a box, so about $13.50 total on eBay. 2023 Topps Chrome Sapphire, it's somewhat of a new release. It's been out for a few months now. That is $250, so about $100 more, about 67% more per box. Now that's interesting because, one might say, well, they're not the same because, the checklist is deeper with 2023. I actually disagree with that. I think the top end is actually much more superior from 2022. I think if anything, they're relatively similar checklists if you were to weigh into account like the floor, the ceiling, the average hit, etc. So what does this tell me? It tells me that prices tend to be a little bit sticky, and it takes a long time for people to truly understand and discover what that wax is worth in the secondary market. So people, whether it's singles or wax, you're always looking at that last comp, right, on eBay. Maybe more so from a singles perspective. I think with wax, a lot of people tend to look at some of the retailers' prices and just assume that those are the prices. Either way, it takes a while for those prices to adjust downward to true market value, right? And the fact that wax tends to lag singles sometimes. Just makes that even more devastating for somebody like me that holds on to wax for 3 months. Sometimes I hold it for 6 months. Sometimes I hold it for 12 months, 18 months, or even longer. There's more risk the longer that you hold on to it for all those factors reasons. There's just so much downward pressure that's happening right now on singles. I think somebody made a comment on Blowout saying like the modern cards, modern card index is going to fall every day, and it has for the last 3 years. It's kind of true. And the same thing's happening with wax. In time, theoretically, the more and more people that open wax, it's a limited, non-renewable resource, kind of, if you're to look at that one set in itself and not like consider all of the ensuing releases and other products that it's competing with in that given year. 50 to 70 sets for baseball that we're seeing each year produced, really not even including Panini there. Yes, like it's a finite, it's a limited resource, but there's just so much other stuff out there. And generally, the value of the wax is still very much connected, even with like 2009 Bowman draft. It's still very much connected to what's inside of it. Yes, in time, it's more and more foolish to open it. But when Mike Trout, 09 draft, Bowman Chrome autographs get absolutely smoked, then so does the wax. The price fluctuations of the wax are very much still dependent on the single card itself, especially if you're to look at it after 2017 and the saturation of the market. And again, a lot of other competing products. People aren't going to be buying 2019, even really 2018 for the most part, which is an outlier, which ends up probably being an exception when I say that wax is a bad investment. And that'll be a future video where I can focus a little bit more on 2018. But people aren't open, they're not buying this stuff to open it, guys. Breakers aren't demanding this stuff. Hobby, retail, of course, but hobby even so. Like, it's just not very liquid. There's not a whole lot of demand for people to own it other than people that want to acquire it for an investment. And with all those factors stated earlier, it's just not a great investment right now. Talked about it in the last video. Collectibles, alternative assets, they're just not a sexy asset class right now. It's not a whole lot of confidence. It's been completely eroded. A lot of the scandals that have happened with Fanatics clearly aren't helping. They're not going to make an outsider. Wait, they printed 2 to 3 superfractors? Like, oh yeah, I'll invest in Bowman Chrome. This is supposed to be like the investment card. This is supposed to be like the unicorn. Like, this is the best card of each player, and they can't even figure out the superfractors, the most important cards of the set. Granted, those weren't the autograph versions. But yeah, bottom line is, because most singles are a bad investment, most wax right now is a bad investment, in my opinion. It just takes too much time after release to figure out the true market value of, for the market to fully bottom, basically, on a newer release from the ultra-modern era. It's just way too risky to be buying this stuff 3 months out, 6 months out, 12 months out. And again, the longer you hold it, the more dangerous it is. I don't think that wax is dead from an arbitrage perspective. I think there's still plays to be made there, but the key is going to be limiting your time horizon and picking the right sets, the right products. So for instance, like, what do I mean by arbitrage? So say if, I don't know, Nolan Gorman starts to like really heat up and starts to become like this borderline generational talent because of what he shows in the first like 4 months of 2024. And the wax takes a long time to adjust and his performance stays at that level, then yeah, there could be like some arbitrage play there. Don't do that. Don't think that Nolan Gorman will be generational guy. I don't think he actually will be. And you always have the risk that once his performance goes down, the wax actually doesn't get a chance to catch up, and it never corrects, right? You just end up buying at what you perceive to be undervalued wax that ends up being properly valued at the end of the day, because it takes too long for that wax to catch up, and then the performance doesn't stay consistent enough for that wax to eventually jump. I talked earlier about how wax does often lag the singles market. I think there are exceptions at the end of the day. I don't think all wax is bad, but I do think most is bad. I've talked about this a little bit not recently, but I'm considering more and more my wax. So you're probably wondering, like, why do I have this stuff? Well, I have a business, I need it. I'm considering it more as inventory than an asset than I ever have, really, because of all those risks that I talked about. So, and we've seen it too with the price slide of a lot of this stuff. Got hammered in 2022, got hammered in 2023 as well. And I expect a lot of this stuff to continue to get hammered. Like, why would it not continue to go down? I don't know. And then on top of that, we talked about this earlier, but just like the supply, right? There's just an endless supply of new wax, and Fanatics is not trying to cater to my perspective. They're not trying to leave opportunities out there where I'm able to buy something from their website, hold on to it for 12 months, 18 months, and for that to go up. Like, that's not a priority to them. As a matter of fact, they'd probably prefer that that didn't happen. Maybe they don't want it to crater like a lot of this stuff has. But again, a lot of this comes down to the current environment that we're in, the bear market that we're in, and factors that are really out of their control at the end of the day, with people's willingness to kind of buy this stuff, open it, hold it long term, whatever. So I just want to say that this is all reflective of the current environment, right? Things could change 2 months from now, 3 months from now, and my perspective could change as a result. But right now, this is my opinion. Almost all wax is a bad investment, especially, and I'm talking about this from the standpoint, again, of sports, although Pokemon, I couldn't see how that would be that much different. Mostly referring to stuff that was produced over the last 5, 6 years. And again, 2018 could be an outlier. It's the same as the singles market, guys. That's what it ends up being. At the end of the day, whether you're holding it for 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, year and a half from now, you're probably going to end up being a bag holder. The result is the same as owning singles. Yes, in a vacuum, you're dealing with sealed configurations where more and more people that open it over time are going to lead to fewer and fewer of that sealed configuration existing. And that in itself should increase pricing of that product, but that's given that demand stays constant. Where you have constant demand and diminishing supply, price go up, right? But the reality is that demand does not stay constant. Demand actually drops over time. To open that product, to own that product, and right now to invest in that product, people's confidence is completely shaken. And if there's one product to invest in right now, well, there is probably one product, and that'll probably be another video. Not talking about 2018 here, a specific set. The investable sets in most people's eyes, right? In most people's opinion right now, based on their sentiment and their willingness to take a risk on holding wax, given the current situation of falling prices of singles and wax, fewer and fewer people are, it's not just me, are considering this stuff an investment. So maybe there's only one set left, right? Because people's confidence is diminished. And this is all, again, a symptom of the current environment. This could swing, this could change. It could take months, it could take years, it could take an eternity, who knows? And that's another reason for falling demand over time of all this stuff. Because who's really investing in this stuff right now? Are you? I doubt it. Take care, guys. Build me out.